The B-29 Superfortress was unlike any bomber the world had ever seen. Its sleek fuselage, pressurized cabins, and long wingspan allowed it to fly higher and farther than any Japanese fighter could reach. By the time it entered service, the B-29 represented the pinnacle of American engineering. It wasn't just a plane, it was a technological marvel, born from a program that cost billions and employed thousands of engineers and technicians across multiple states. Each aircraft carried a crew of up to 11 men, each operating sophisticated equipment that required precision and training. At altitudes exceeding 30,000 feet, the B-29 could deliver up to 20,000 pounds of bombs, striking targets deep within Japan. For pilots in Tokyo and other cities, the first sight of a formation of these massive bombers was terrifying. Their size alone made them seem unstoppable, a floating fortress in the sky. And yet, what made the B-29 truly formidable was not just its speed or payload, but the unseen technology hidden within. Every turret, every gun was linked by a system that could track, calculate, and fire automatically with mechanical precision. The air war over the Pacific had reached a point where traditional dogfighting no longer guaranteed survival. Japanese pilots, even the best among them, had to confront a reality they had never faced before, an enemy that seemed to anticipate their every move. Engineers had meticulously designed the B-29's pressurized cabins to keep crews safe at high altitudes, while its defensive guns, controlled remotely, created a lethal protective bubble around the bomber. Even at night or in clouds, the Superfortress maintained a deadly presence. Early missions tested the limits of the aircraft and its crew, and while mechanical failures sometimes grounded planes, each successful flight demonstrated the growing dominance of American air power. Reports from pilots described formations that could appear out of nowhere, dropping bombs with precision while remaining largely untouchable. The psychological effect on Japanese civilians and soldiers alike was profound. They were not just witnessing destruction, they were watching a new era of warfare unfold. In those first months, the B-29 was more than a weapon. It was a statement of technological superiority, a tangible sign that the Allies had created an instrument capable of reshaping the skies of the Pacific forever. As the war progressed, each mission refined tactics and strategy, preparing the way for operations that would challenge both Japanese defenses and the very notion of what a bomber could achieve. The Superfortress was no longer just an airplane. It was a symbol of relentless innovation, a mechanical marvel that demanded respect and fear. And for those who faced it from the ground or the air, it was the beginning of a nightmare they could not escape. Pilots recalled that the sheer size of the B-29 made it difficult to judge its distance, and the bright, polished fuselage could reflect sunlight, blinding attackers and giving American gunners precious seconds to react. Each flight demonstrated the careful orchestration between human skill and automated technology, a synergy that Japanese pilots found nearly impossible to counter. The very thought of taking on a formation of these bombers inspired awe and dread, and it became increasingly clear that the B-29 was not just another plane, it was the future of aerial warfare, heralding a level of firepower and control that the world had never seen before. By early 1945, Japanese fighter pilots faced a terrifying new reality. They were the best the empire had to offer, skilled in dogfighting and accustomed to defending their skies. Yet the B-29 Superfortress seemed almost untouchable. These massive bombers flew higher than most Japanese aircraft could reach, cruising at altitudes over 30,000 feet while carrying thousands of pounds of bombs. The first encounters were shocking. Pilots quickly discovered that their fastest planes, nimble and well-armed, had little chance against the combination of speed, altitude, and defensive firepower that the B-29 carried. Even when they climbed to intercept, they were met with deadly fire from guns they couldn't see or predict. Training and experience only went so far. The new bombers operated on a level of technology that Japanese pilots had never encountered. The psychological strain was immense. Facing an enemy that seemed to anticipate every maneuver created panic and fear, even among seasoned veterans. Some attempted daring attacks, diving at full speed from high altitude, only to be torn apart by coordinated defensive fire. Others tried night raids, hoping darkness would hide them, but the B-29's formation flying, radar assistance, and remote-controlled turrets made surprise attacks increasingly ineffective. Casualties mounted, and the morale of even the most elite units began to falter. Reports from the front lines described Japanese pilots as growing desperate, improvising tactics to try to evade the seemingly mechanical precision of the bombers' guns. Yet every adaptation met with another layer of innovation from the American crews. The disparity in technology became painfully clear. The Japanese fighters could not match the altitude, could not outrun the bombs, and could not survive the accurate defensive fire. Even the most experienced aces learned that traditional dogfighting skills were no longer sufficient. Their maneuvers, once deadly against other fighters, became almost irrelevant against the B-29. Intelligence reports and mission debriefs began to reflect a harsh new truth. These bombers were designed not just to strike, but to survive, to protect their crews, and to dominate the skies with precision and coordination no human pilot could match alone. Meanwhile, the civilians below began to witness the consequences firsthand. Entire cities could be struck with little warning, and the once vaunted defenses of Japan appeared increasingly powerless. Pilots who survived attacks spoke of the B-29 as if it were more than a machine, almost alive, with an uncanny ability to defend itself and punish every mistake. Each engagement highlighted the widening gap between human skill and technological advantage. By the spring of 1945, the reality was undeniable. Even Japan's most talented fighter pilots were facing a foe they could not beat with conventional tactics, and the skies above their homeland had become a battleground where innovation, mechanical precision, and coordination had gained the upper hand. Every sortie underscored a simple, terrifying fact: the age of the human dogfighter was coming to an end. By 1945, it had become painfully clear to Japanese pilots that no ordinary strategy could stop the B-29 Superfortress. What made the bomber truly terrifying was a secret technological advantage hidden within its massive frame. Each B-29 was equipped with the General Electric Central Fire Control System, a network of remote-controlled gun turrets that could track and fire at enemy fighters with uncanny precision. Unlike traditional bombers, where gunners relied solely on their eyes and reflexes, the B-29's guns were linked to analog computers capable of calculating lead, distance, and speed automatically. When a Japanese fighter approached, the system anticipated its movement, adjusting the aim of each turret in real time. One gunner could control multiple weapons simultaneously, creating overlapping fields of fire that made the bomber nearly untouchable. Some turrets could reach over 1,000 yards, far beyond the effective range of human reflexes, making it almost impossible for attackers to survive a sustained assault. Pilots who faced these bombers reported that the guns seemed to predict their maneuvers, striking even when they attempted evasive action or sudden dives. The B-29's formation flying amplified this effect, with each plane's defensive fire covering the next, creating a lethal network that left Japanese pilots trapped in a storm of mechanical precision. Intelligence reports later revealed the staggering complexity behind the system. It was a combination of cutting-edge engineering and meticulous coordination, designed to protect crews and ensure that each mission could reach its target with minimal losses. Even when Japanese aircraft approached in coordinated attacks, the Central Fire Control System responded with speed and accuracy beyond human capability. Pilots described the experience as surreal. The sky seemed to belong to the B-29, and no maneuver could guarantee safety. The mechanical turrets did not tire, did not panic, and never missed in the way human gunners might. For the men inside, the system allowed them to focus on navigation and bombing, confident that the plane could defend itself with almost automatic efficiency. Each mission further demonstrated the gap between human skill and machine precision, showing that aerial combat had entered a new era. By the time the most experienced Japanese pilots faced a B-29, they knew instinctively that they were outmatched. The aircraft was not only fast and heavily armed, but also protected by a technology that had no equal, a system that effectively turned a single bomber into an entire defensive squadron. The GE Central Fire Control System had redefined what it meant to survive in the skies. Japanese commanders scrambled to develop countermeasures, yet nothing could match the combination of remote targeting, analog computation, and overlapping firepower. It was a chilling realization. Mechanical innovation had created an enemy no pilot could outfly or outmaneuver. The B-29, once simply a tool of bombing strategy, had become a fortress in the air, a symbol of how technology could decisively tilt the balance in modern warfare. Every encounter with the Superfortress emphasized the same fact: precision, automation, and coordination had replaced reflex and instinct as the most lethal force in the sky. The Central Fire Control System was more than a weapon. It was a declaration that the future of aerial combat belonged to those who could harness machines to think faster and act more accurately than any human could alone. By early 1945, the U.S. Army Air Forces faced a strategic dilemma. High-altitude precision bombing over Japan had proven less effective than hoped. Weather conditions, jet stream winds, and the limitations of early targeting technology made accurate strikes nearly impossible. Curtis LeMay, commander of the 21st Bomber Command, recognized that a bold change was necessary. He proposed a radical shift: low-altitude night raids using incendiary bombs designed to ignite Japan's predominantly wooden cities and devastate industrial capacity. The plan, later known as Operation Meeting House, would target Tokyo, the heart of Japan's industry and population, in a single, massive, coordinated strike. The strategy was risky. Flying lower made B-29s more vulnerable to anti-aircraft fire and the Japanese fighters they had previously avoided at high altitude. Yet LeMay calculated that the psychological and physical impact would be decisive. On the night of March 9, 1945, nearly 330 B-29s took off from bases in the Mariana Islands. Formation flying, careful navigation, and precise timing were critical. The bombers descended to altitudes of 5,000 to 9,000 feet, far lower than most previous missions, to ensure the incendiary bombs hit densely populated areas. For Japanese air defenses, it was chaos. Radar systems were overwhelmed, communication lines failed under the pressure, and fighter squadrons struggled to intercept the massive formations. When the bombers reached Tokyo, incendiary bombs rained down across 16 square miles of the city, creating a firestorm that consumed homes, factories, and infrastructure alike. Flames rose hundreds of feet, fueled by the wooden construction of nearly every building. Smoke and heat created hurricane-force winds that carried embers far beyond the initial target zones. The collapse of Japanese air defenses became painfully clear. Despite desperate attempts, fighter pilots could not reach the bombers before or during the strike. Anti-aircraft guns were largely ineffective against formations protected by the B-29's advanced defensive systems. Survivors described a sky dominated by the roar of engines and the eerie flashes of bombs igniting below. The human toll was staggering. Tens of thousands of civilians perished in a single night, and the psychological impact on the Japanese military and population was immense. For LeMay and his crews, the success of Operation Meeting House validated the shift to low-altitude incendiary tactics, demonstrating that technological advantage combined with daring strategy could overcome even the most entrenched defenses.
It also marked a turning point in aerial warfare. The B-29 was no longer merely a bomber. It was a tool of total war, capable of shaping entire cities and forcing the enemy into a position of helplessness. Subsequent missions adopted similar tactics, striking other urban centers with devastating efficiency. The operation also highlighted the synergy between aircraft innovation, crew training, and strategic vision. Each bomber operated as part of an intricate, coordinated machine, delivering destruction with precision and minimizing American casualties. For Japanese forces, the raids were a grim revelation. The enemy had learned not only to build unstoppable machines, but to use them in ways that made traditional defense nearly irrelevant. Operation Meeting House became a symbol of technological and tactical supremacy, showing that in modern warfare, innovation and strategy could alter the very fabric of the battlefield and leave a mark that would resonate far beyond the immediate devastation.
By the end of World War II, the B-29 Superfortress had proven itself as more than just a bomber. It had become a symbol of technological supremacy and strategic innovation. The program that produced these aircraft was the most expensive in American history at the time, costing billions of dollars and employing thousands of engineers, technicians, and factory workers across the United States. Each plane represented countless hours of research, design, and testing, and the sheer scale of production reflected America's commitment to dominating the skies. Beyond its cost, the B-29 left a lasting mark on the way wars were fought. Its long-range capability allowed the United States to project power deep into enemy territory, bypassing traditional front lines and striking the industrial and civilian heart of Japan. The combination of speed, altitude, payload, and the revolutionary central fire control system demonstrated that technological innovation could decisively shift the balance of power in warfare. The success of the B-29 forced military planners worldwide to reconsider how air forces were organized, trained, and equipped. The bomber's impact extended far beyond World War II. It influenced the design of post-war aircraft, pushing engineers to develop planes capable of higher altitudes, longer ranges, and more sophisticated defensive systems. Strategic bombing as a doctrine gained new legitimacy, showing that air power could shape not only the outcome of battles, but the course of entire wars. Yet the legacy of the B-29 was not only technical, it was also psychological. Japanese pilots and civilians alike had witnessed the destructive capability of a machine that combined human skill with mechanical precision, creating a sense of inevitability that few could counter. The bomber demonstrated that victory in modern warfare depended not only on courage and training, but also on the ability to harness technology to its fullest potential. Its innovations sparked a wave of research into automation, avionics, and remote targeting, laying the groundwork for the jet age and modern strategic bombers. Every subsequent aircraft program, from reconnaissance planes to intercontinental bombers, owed a debt to the lessons learned from the B-29's engineering and operational strategies. As nations studied the lessons of the Pacific Campaign, the B-29 became a benchmark for future air forces, a symbol of how investment in innovation and daring strategy could produce unprecedented results. Beyond the battlefield, the Superfortress left an enduring imprint on culture and military thinking. It inspired new approaches to reconnaissance, strategic planning, and coordination between human crews and automated systems. Each mission, each sortie had pushed the boundaries of what was considered possible in aviation. The B-29's story became a testament to the marriage of ingenuity and determination, showing that technological advantage could not only protect those who wielded it, but could also redefine the very nature of war. Even decades later, historians and engineers alike examined the B-29 to understand how a single program could so profoundly influence the future of aerial combat.
It was a machine born of necessity, perfected by innovation, and remembered for its transformative role in shaping the skies of the 20th century. The Superfortress did more than drop bombs. It changed how nations thought about power, defense, and the potential of human ingenuity harnessed through technology. In every way, the B-29 Superfortress left a legacy that continues to echo in the principles of modern aerial warfare and the strategies that define conflicts to this day.